G'day golfers. Well, how do you reckon you'd go putting on Augusta National Country Club's very fast greens? Well, in all likelihood, you'd probably struggle because they're so severe and so fast, and the amount of break is so difficult to visualize that you'd basically feel like you're playing mini golf or crazy golf. Today, you're going to learn how to putt on these breaking greens, how to visualize and go through that process of understanding how these greens work and how these putts work, and basically prepare yourself much better for coping with fast breaking greens. So I'm at the Monash Country Club, I'm on the second green, and some of the greens at Monash really do rival Augusta Nationals for the severity of the slope and the speed at times. They're running at around about 10.5 on the stimp meter at the moment, and I've got a breaking putt here that we're going to have a little look at, and really I think it's going to surprise you at how much some of these putts break. And let's face it, golfers are surprised every day putting on their own greens as to how much putts can break. I'm Glenn Haynes, welcome to Aussie Golf Pros, where we help you make the most of your game. I have a putt here of around 12 feet, left to right break, and most club golfers, when faced with this putt, would give it 1 cup, maybe 2 cups of break. A-graders would probably give it around a foot of break. But let's watch this. I'm going to give it 1 foot of break. Low side, and watch it gather speed as it gets down the hill. And that's what we see a lot of club golfers do. Miss on the low side, and I'm talking a super high percentage here. 85% of golfers on breaking putts miss on the low side. And as the ball gathers speed missing on the low side, it stretches away and can easily have a 6, 7, 8 foot putt for your second putt or even longer. And we see that so often. I didn't hit that putt too hard, I hit it too low. And that's really costing a lot of club golfers a lot of shots on the greens. Elite golfers, the tour pros, are trying to hold these. They're big breaking putts, but they're good enough that they can try to hold them. And that's what I want you to do eventually. But to start with, what I want you to do is miss on the high side. I want you to give it 3 foot of break. Let's make sure that we're high enough that the ball is trickling in. Let's not worry about holding it for the time being. Let's get better at reading these greens, reading these breaking putts. And eventually, as we build some confidence and some knowledge on the greens, then we can start to be a little bit more aggressive and try to hold them. So let's hit something out at 3 foot of break. Really up nice and high. Same speed. And you can see how, even though it's high, we've missed it, but very close to the hole. We've left ourselves a much shorter second putt. And I guarantee you, even by trying to miss on the high side, you're still going to miss some low, because so many golfers underread so many putts. So why is that the case? Why does that happen? We're talking about club golfers that play the same greens week in, week out. Well, it's a lot to do with how we visualize putts. I think a lot of golfers tend to think of, even if it's subconscious, tend to think of the ball going straight and then curving from the apex in. It doesn't actually happen that way. On a breaking putt, steep greens like this, then as soon as the ball starts rolling, it's swinging. So a little bit of swing here, even if the ball's only traveled 2 or 3 feet, is going to have a big impact on what happens when it gets to the hole. And this is only 12 feet. Imagine 30, 40, 50 feet. These putts are very often missed on the low side. And I'm going to hit a putt from over here now, just to give you an idea of what the ball's actually trying to do. So I've got a straight downhill putt now. I'm just going to miss it there. And we can see how that's the path of least resistance. Watch how this is really tracking and heading on down the hill. And that's what's happening. The ball is finding that path of least resistance. It's going to break a lot more than a lot of golfers realize. But I want you to understand how the ball feeds into that zero line. That line there is where there's zero break. So the ball is actually going to want to get onto that line. Any of these breaking putts, and these, especially the downhill ones, the ball wants to track onto that line and then feed into the top of the cup. So I want you to imagine the hole as a magnet. Remember when we were kids and we got the magnets and the iron filings on a bit of paper, we could see the effect of the magnetic field with the iron filing. And the confidence boost by imagining the hole is a magnet for that ball, which, if you imagine that magnetic field, anything in this area wants to come around here and then feed down that line of least resistance, and anything over this side also wants to feed in, this time right to left. That's how we want to visualize these downhill putts, feeding into and tracking onto that line, because that's what the ball wants to do. It wants to track downhill. It wants to find the path of least resistance. You're going to see more of the break rather than under-reading all the time and visualizing the ball just going in the front of the hole. We want to visualize that ball feeding in onto the top of the hole. I guarantee you, if you can break that habit of missing on the low side all the time, you're going to find the speed control much easier. You're going to leave yourself second putts that are a lot shorter, and you're going to have fewer putts out on the golf course. Let's really challenge ourselves now. Longer putt, lots of break. We've got around 45 feet. I think it's going to break about 17 feet. Oh, that is high. It's actually swung a little left to start with there. It's finding that path of least resistance. Here it comes. Oh, a little bit too high. Next time. So ask yourself, are you prepared to actually miss some putts on the high side, at least for the time being, to get out of the habit of missing on the low side? What percentage of your putts are missing on the low side? If you're like a lot of other club golfers, then it's very, very high, and you've got the power to change it and improve it. Thanks so much for watching, and here is a bit more of a guide on how to read greens and how to survey the area and start to understand how those greens work. So pop up into the corner here and you'll be ready to take on your greens. Are you the best golfer you can be?